Today we're going to be taking a look at a handful of the best lanterns and comparing their performance and features. So if you're in the market for one, this video will show you a few different options and help you decide which one is best for you. The lanterns we're going to be checking out today are the BLF LT1, which is widely regarded as one of the best lanterns ever made. And I have one of the earlier models here, but I'll be giving you the specs on their latest version. The Sofirn LT1S, which is significantly more lightweight and shares many features with the LT1, with the addition of a Redlight. The LT1 Mini, which is Sofirn's most compact offering, the Nightcore LR60, which is compatible with multiple battery sizes, the Lumitop CL2, which is a fun little lantern with great performance, and finally the Ledlenser ML4, which is a fantastic option for those of you looking for something more compact and convenient to carry. The BLF LT1 has 8 Samsung LH351D emitters, 4 of which are 5000K 90 CRI, and the other 4 are 2700K 90 CRI, which gives you the ability to tint ramp between neutral and warm light, which is something that you can also do on the rest of the Sofirn lanterns we're going to be looking at as well. Anyways, the newly upgraded LT1 has a max output of 800 lumens, but the one I'm running is at about 600 lumens. But regardless, the output is really high, and it's going to be able to run at higher outputs for longer than any of the other lanterns here. The tint ramping feature is really nice, and for this shot and the rest of the shots, with the Sofirn lanterns, I've set them to the warmer color temperatures, which in my opinion are the nicest to look at, and they also help to reduce eye fatigue over long periods of time. The Sofirn LT1S has a total of 40 emitters, including 36 CSP 1919 LEDs. Half of them are 2700K and half of them are 6000K, so you actually get a wider tint ramping range compared to the LT1, and also 4 red LEDs, which we'll touch on in another section. Anyways, the turbo mode has a max output of 500 lumens, and it will ramp down over the course of about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Even though the output is slightly lower than the LT1, the difference is not noticeable, and the overall beam pattern is nearly identical to the LT1, with the only difference being that the diffuser is slightly lower. But the advantage here is a much more lightweight lantern with a smaller overall size. This is the LT1 Mini, and it has the same emitters as the LT1, however it has a total of 4 instead of 8, and a max output of about 300 lumens, and it will ramp down over the course of about 3 hours. Despite its small size, it is able to keep up pretty well with the larger Sofirn lanterns, and in smaller rooms this is definitely more light than most people would need, and the fact that it's much more portable makes it a better option to carry on your body or in a backpack. Despite the fact that the diffuser is smaller, the beam is still very even and great for lighting up small spaces. Next up we have the Lumitop CL2, and it has 4 luminous SST20 emitters. And this light is compatible with both 14500 lithium-ion batteries, which will give you higher outputs, and also AA's, which will give you longer run times. But for these shots, you're going to be running the lithium-ion batteries. The CL2 has a max output of 650 lumens, which is very impressive for a lantern of this size. The color temperature is closer to neutral, and despite being one of the small lanterns here, the turbo mode is actually the most impressive in the lineup, and it's definitely a strong contender if high lumens is your main consideration point. However, it is important to keep in mind that this level is not sustainable and it will drop down after about 2 minutes. This is the Ledlenser ML4, and this is another light that runs on either a 14500 or a AA, and its highest output is 300 lumens, but it will step down to 150 lumens after about 30 seconds. This is the warm version, but you can also pick it up in a cool version as well, and although the specs are stated at 300 lumens, I don't think they're quite as high as the LT1 Mini, which is also 300 lumens, but the amount of light it produces is still suitable for most small rooms. The main advantage here is the fact that the ML4 is incredibly portable and is the smallest lantern in the lineup by a long shot, and in the next section we'll be looking at the mid mode, which should give you a better idea of a much more practical mode. Finally, we have the Nightcore LR60, which has 9 high CRI emitters, which have a warm color temperature between 4000 and 4500K, and this light is compatible with a handful of different battery types, and we'll discuss those later in the video, but the performance specs stated are for running 2 21700s, and it has a max output of 280 lumens and will ramp down over the course of about 16 hours. Despite the shape of the diffuser being a little odd, the beam is still pretty well diffused, but you do notice the beam going dark in a few small spaces around the corners, but it definitely does compete with the larger lanterns, and it does have some pretty interesting charging and power bank features, which puts the LR60 in a class of its own. Here's a quick look at these lanterns side by side on turbo so you can get a better idea of how they compare. The Sofirn lanterns are on the top row, the Nightcore LR60 is in the bottom left, the Lumentop CL2 is in the bottom middle, and the Ledlenser ML4 is on the bottom right. Under these conditions, the outputs all look pretty similar with the exception of the ML4, which does not appear to have as high of an output. Now we're going to take a look at some mid modes, which provide the user with a nice balance of output and runtime that people might find themselves using the most often. The BLF LT1 step mode specs are not stated, but does have a handful of levels that would be suitable for most cases, and if you've got it set to smooth ramping, it's easy to find a precise level to meet your needs, and this mode would definitely get you through at least a few nights. The Sofern LT1S has a 50 lumen mode with an 18-hour runtime, which is a very well balanced mode with a decent runtime that would be useful for multiple nights in a row without charging. 50 lumens is plenty of output for this space, and you could probably get away with less. The LT1 Mini has a mid mode with roughly 11-hour runtime, and its output specs are not stated by Sofern, but it does appear to be slightly brighter than the LT1S, however the runtime is somewhat reduced. The Lumentop CL2 has a mid mode with 160 lumens and a max runtime of 2 hours and 40 minutes, and this is one of the brighter mid modes that we're going to see here, but the next level down is 10 lumens, and it would be nice to see something in between, perhaps around 25 lumens, with a slightly better balance of output and runtime. The Ledlenser ML4 has a 50 lumen mode with a 7-hour runtime, and this mode is great for small spaces, and the runtime is actually quite impressive considering the size, and this mode could definitely last you through the night. The Nightcore LR60 has a 75 lumen mid mode with a 32-hour runtime, and this is an ideal output setting to comfortably see in this environment considering the battery capacity, and will definitely be able to last you multiple nights and still deliver a considerable amount of light, so I think they really did a great job here. If you find yourself in a situation where you want to be able to run the lantern for as long as possible, Moonlight modes can really come in handy. The BLF LT1 has a 1 lumen Moonlight mode and a max runtime that's over a month, which is incredible. I like the height this lantern sits at because it's high enough to send the beam a little further than the other lantern, and as a result you're able to read with it while it's resting on the table. Due to its weight, it is slightly less comfortable to hold for longer periods of time. The Sofern LT1S has a 1 lumen Moonlight mode and a 555-hour runtime, which is approximately 23 days, which is close behind the other Sofern lanterns, and this is a perfect mode to read with and is much more lightweight compared to the LT1, so you can hold it easier if needed. The LT1 Mini has a 1 lumen Moonlight mode and a roughly 31-day runtime as well, which is slightly longer than the LT1S, and considering the size of the LT1 Mini, these specs are really impressive. Again, we're dealing with a more elevated beam angle, which makes hand-free use much more convenient in these settings, but if you do need to hold it, it's still relatively lightweight and easy to manage. The Lumentop CL2 has a 2 lumen output mode and a max runtime of 28 days running on AA's, or 20 days with the lithium-ion batteries, which is another really impressive mode. The stated specs are slightly brighter than the other Moonlight modes that we've seen, but they do look about the same to me. The lowest output on the Ledlenser ML4 is the 5 lumen mode, and it will run on this mode for about 40 hours. I do think this mode is a bit higher than it needs to be, and would be nice to see something closer to around 1 lumen, as I think max runtime is a selling point for many people, including myself. The Nightcore LR60 has a 6 lumen Moonlight mode with a 150-hour runtime, which is approximately 6¼ days, and again I think we've got a little more light than we need here, and it would be nice to see something lower to help extend the battery life even further, which in general Nightcore is great about offering a 1 lumen mode on many of their tactical and EDC lights. A few of these lanterns also have Redlight modes, including the LT1S and the ML4, so I wanted to give you a quick look at those as well. The ML4 has 3 different red modes, including a low mode, a medium mode, and a beacon mode, which would be useful for signaling, but all of these red modes have a relatively low output compared to the warm modes. The LT1S does have a few more red options, including a high, medium, low, and strobe, and an SOS mode, and it's nice to see some higher output red modes, and the performance here is really impressive. So if you're looking for a usable red mode, this is definitely one of the best options on the market. Alright, so now that we've seen what these lanterns can do, let's dive into their UIs. Both the LT1 and the LT1 Mini run on Android 2.0, which is one of the most capable user interfaces available. In addition to step mode sets, smooth ramping, and tint ramping, there's a ton of additional modes including candle mode, strobe, bike modes, and a ton more. And here's a quick look at a chart that goes more in depth, but if you've never tried Android 2.0, you're in for a real treat. The Sofern LT1S does share many similar capabilities, including the tint ramping, the smooth and step mode sets, and a red mode, which would be sufficient to meet the needs of most users. However, there's a few less options here compared to the LT1 and the LT1 Mini. The Lumitop CL2 has a relatively simple UI with 5 different step modes and also a strobe, SOS, and beacon modes. And this is not a bad option for somebody who wants something relatively simple and doesn't want to take too much time to learn the UI. The LED Lenser ML4 has 3 different step white modes, 2 red modes, and a blink mode, and this is another one that's really easy to operate. The Nightcore LR60 is also really simple and just has 3 step modes, including the high, medium, and low, and a beacon and an SOS mode. You can also control whether you want to turn on the front, back, or top emitters at any given moment, which is a cool feature if you want to be able to more easily control the direction of the light. Now we're going to get into the batteries, charging, and a few of these lanterns even have power bank features, which allow you to use them to charge other devices. The BLF LT1 is powered by 4 button top 18650 batteries, and you can pick up this lantern with or without batteries, and this one has 4 3000 mAh batteries for a total of 12,000 mAh. The great thing about the upgraded LT1 and the rest of Sofern lanterns here is that they all have USB-C charging and discharging capabilities, and they can be used to power up your other USB powered devices in a pinch. Both the Sofern LT1S and the LT1 Mini run on a 21700 battery, and these ones can be purchased with a 5000 mAh capacity Sofern branded battery. The Lumitop CL2 can run on 4 14500s, and the version that I have here came with 4 920 mAh batteries, or you can run it on 4 AA batteries, which are much more common and a readily available battery type. There's also a USB-C input for charging, and it can charge lithium-ion cells. The LED Lenser ML4 is powered by either the included 14500 lithium-ion battery, and the one it comes with has a 750 mAh capacity, or it can run on a AA battery. And this lantern charges with a proprietary magnetic charging cable, which is somewhat inconvenient. However, it does help to improve the lantern's water and dust resistance. The Nightcore LR60 is hands down the most flexible option here when it comes to battery types, and you've got the ability to run on either 1 or 2 21700s, 18650s, 2 or 4 CR123s or RCR123s, and if you're running 2 21700s, the total capacity will be around 10,000 mAh. You can also use the LR60 as a 21700 or 18650 charger, and it can also be used as a power bank, and there's 2 different ports here, including a USB-C input output and also a USB Type A output. The Sofern lanterns, the CL2 and the Nightcore LR60 all have pretty similar removable rings on top, which you can use to hang them. The LED Lenser ML4 actually has a carabiner style loop, which gives you a bit more flexibility, and the LR60 is the only lantern here that also has a magnetic base, which gives you another option for hands-free use. Thanks so much for watching the video, and be sure to smash the like button if you enjoyed it, and comment down below and let me know which of these lanterns you like the most. There's also links to these lanterns down in the description below.